The Amazon rainforest is the largest tropical forest on Earth. Scientists have studied it for centuries. And for centuries, everyone agreed on one thing. The Amazon was ancient, wild, and untouched by human civilization. Then, researchers pointed laser technology at the jungle floor and found an entire lost world hidden underneath. Cities, roads, farms, monuments, and a discovery so significant that it forced scientists to completely rewrite the history of one of the most famous places on Earth. Let's start with what the Amazon actually is, because its scale is almost impossible to comprehend. The Amazon covers more than 5.5 million square kilometers across 9 countries. It contains 10% of all species on Earth, more biodiversity in one region than anywhere else on the planet. The Amazon River itself discharges more fresh water into the ocean than the next 7 largest rivers combined. For centuries, the dominant scientific view was that the Amazon's poor soil made it impossible for large human civilizations to develop there. The theory was that the Amazon could only support small nomadic tribes, never cities, never complex societies. This view was so dominant that when early European explorers reported seeing large cities along the Amazon River, scientists dismissed them as fantasy. In 1542, Spanish explorer Francisco de Orellana reported traveling past densely populated cities stretching for miles along the Amazon riverbank. For 400 years, scientists called him a liar. Now, let's talk about the technology that changed everything, because this is where the story gets genuinely extraordinary. LiDAR stands for light detection, and ranging it works by firing millions of laser pulses from an aircraft and measuring how they bounce back. The pulses pass through gaps in the tree canopy and hit the actual ground beneath, revealing the true shape of the landscape below the forest. It's like having X-ray vision for the jungle. You can see straight through the trees to whatever is hidden on the ground beneath them. When scientists first used LiDAR over the Amazon, they expected to find nothing but natural landscape. What they found instead was one of the greatest archaeological discoveries of the 21st century. Geometric earthworks, massive structures, cut into the ground, with mathematical precision, appearing across thousands of square kilometers of Amazon. These structures, called geoglyphs, were carved into the earth by human hands, some of them larger than a football field. Over 500 individual geoglyphs have been identified so far, and researchers believe thousands more remain undiscovered. But geoglyphs were just the beginning, because LiDAR also revealed something even more significant. In 2022, researchers published findings revealing an ancient urban network hidden in the Llanos de Mojos region of Bolivia. The LiDAR scans revealed cities with roads, plazas, canals, reservoirs, and ceremonial platforms, all connected by a sophisticated network of causeways. The largest settlement found was estimated to have housed between 10,000 and 50,000 people. This was not a primitive settlement. This was a planned city with sophisticated infrastructure that rivaled contemporary civilizations in Europe and Asia. Now, let's talk about who these people were, because the civilization that built these cities is one of the least known great civilizations in human history. Researchers call them the pre-Columbian Amazonian peoples civilizations that flourished for thousands of years before European contact. At their peak, researchers now estimate the Amazon may have been home to between 8 million and 50 million people. That would make the ancient Amazon one of the most densely populated regions on Earth at the time. And here is the question that completely changes how we think about the Amazon. If millions of people lived there, what happened to them? The answer is one of the greatest demographic catastrophes in human history. When Europeans arrived in the Americas in the late 1400s and 1500s, they brought diseases that indigenous populations had never encountered. Smallpox, measles, influenza diseases that Europeans had partial immunity to were catastrophic for populations with zero prior exposure. Some estimates suggest that up to 90% of the indigenous Amazon population died within a century of European contact. Cities were abandoned, fields were left unfarmed, roads were no longer maintained, and the jungle moved in. Within a few generations, the forest had swallowed everything, and the Amazon looked exactly as it does today. Which means what Europeans saw when they arrived and what scientists studied for centuries was not the original Amazon. It was a post-apocalyptic landscape, a civilization that had just collapsed, being slowly reclaimed by nature. Now here's where the discovery gets even more remarkable, because it turns out these civilizations didn't just live in the Amazon, they engineered it. For thousands of years, the peoples of the Amazon selectively planted, cultivated, and managed the forest to maximize its productivity. They clustered useful food plants, Brazil nuts, acai palms, cacao trees in specific areas to create what scientists now call a food forest. Research has found that areas near ancient settlements have 5 times more domesticated plant species than areas with no ancient human activity. The trees that make the Amazon so extraordinarily biodiverse today may be partly the result of thousands of years of human planting and management. Now let's talk about the most extraordinary discovery of all, something called Terra Preta. Terra Preta, or dark earth, is an extraordinarily fertile black soil found throughout the Amazon that does not occur naturally. It was created by ancient Amazonian peoples over thousands of years by mixing charcoal, bone, manure, and organic waste into the soil. Terra Preta is found across an estimated 10% of the Amazon basin, covering an area larger than France. And here's the most remarkable thing about Terra Preta: it regenerates itself. Normal Amazon soil loses its fertility in just a few years of farming. Terra Preta has remained fertile for over 2,000 years and continues to regenerate. Scientists around the world are now studying Terra Preta, trying to understand how it works because it could revolutionize modern agriculture. An ancient people we barely knew existed invented a soil technology that modern science is still trying to replicate. Now let's talk about what this discovery means for how we understand the Amazon today. The Amazon we see today is not a pristine, untouched wilderness. It is a cultural landscape shaped by thousands of years of human management. The trees that we are so desperately trying to protect, many of them were planted by human beings, which raises a genuinely difficult question. If humans created the Amazon, can humans restore it after deforestation? Some researchers argue that understanding how ancient peoples managed the Amazon is the key to its restoration and preservation today. Now let's talk about what else is still hidden beneath the Amazon, because the discoveries keep coming. In 2023, researchers announced the discovery of a massive ancient city in Ecuador hidden beneath the Amazon canopy, the largest pre-Columbian site ever found in the region. The site showed a network of urban centers connected by roads, some of the roads still perfectly straight after 2,000 years underground. Researchers estimate this civilization may have thrived for 2,000 years, from around 100 BC to around 1500 AD. And researchers believe this is just the beginning, that the Amazon is hiding dozens, if not hundreds, of similar sites still waiting to be discovered. Only about 10% of the Amazon has been surveyed with LiDAR so far, which means 90% of the Amazon's hidden history is still waiting to be found. Now here's something that should genuinely change how you think about what we call wilderness. Most of what we call wilderness, most of what we think of as untouched nature, has been shaped by human beings. The African savanna looks the way it does partly because of thousands of years of human fire management. The forests of Europe were dramatically shaped by thousands of years of human clearing, farming, and management. There may be no truly untouched wilderness left on Earth, just varying degrees of human influence stretching back thousands of years. Which actually changes the conservation argument, because if humans shaped these landscapes, humans are part of these ecosystems, not outside them. Now, here's the most important question that the Amazon discovery raises, and it's one that we urgently need to answer. We are destroying the Amazon at an alarming rate, but we now know we are not just destroying a forest. We are destroying an ancient library, a living record of thousands of years of human knowledge about how to live sustainably in one of the most complex ecosystems on Earth. Every tree cleared in the Amazon may be erasing knowledge we have not yet discovered and may never be able to recover. The Amazon is not just the lungs of the Earth. It is the largest archaeological site on Earth, and we are still finding out what it contains. Now, here's what I find most remarkable about this entire story. For 400 years, we dismissed the people who actually saw these cities as liars. For centuries, we assumed that because we couldn't see it, it wasn't there. And we built entire scientific theories on the assumption that peoples we had never properly studied were too primitive to build complex civilizations. The Amazon discovery is not just a story about ancient cities, it's a story about the limits of what we think we know. If an entire civilization of millions of people building cities and engineering soil and managing a forest the size of a continent could be invisible to science for 400 years, what else are we missing? The Amazon was never just a forest, it was a civilization, and it's asking us to look more carefully at everything we think we already understand. Beneath the trees, beneath what looks like wilderness, there are cities waiting to be found, knowledge waiting to be recovered, and a civilization waiting to finally be understood.